He destroyed her with a single cruel sentence. 8 years ago, he told his wife she would never be a mother, and divorced her without mercy. He was a Korean mafia heir. She was nothing in his eyes. But when she returned as one of the most powerful businesswomen in America, she brought with her 4 children. His children, 2 boys, 2 girls. The empire he built on lies was about to crumble. Because the woman he threw away? She's no longer the one who begged for his love. And this time, she holds all the cards. This is the story of a man who lost everything the moment he let her go. Welcome back to another powerful story of love, betrayal, and redemption. Today, I'm bringing you a tale that will stay with you long after it ends. Before we dive in, please hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. He didn't remember her face anymore. 8 years had a way of erasing things: faces, names, the sound of someone crying in an empty bedroom. Kang Min-ho had built his empire on forgetting, on moving forward, on never looking back at the wreckage he left behind. But today, the wreckage walked into his boardroom. She wore white, not the soft, apologetic white of a woman trying to fade into wallpaper. No, this was the white of winter. Sharp, blinding, unforgiving. Her heels clicked against marble like a countdown, and every man in the room turned to look, not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because power had a scent, and she wore it like perfume. Min-ho's hand stilled over the contract he'd been signing. He looked up, and the world stopped. For a moment, just a breath, he saw her. The girl he married. The one who used to wait by the window with dinner growing cold. The one who cried silently in the bathroom so he wouldn't hear. The one he told, with casual cruelty, that she was worthless because her body couldn't do the one thing his world demanded. You'll never be a mother. He'd said it like a death sentence. And then he signed the divorce papers without looking at her twice. But this woman staring at him now with eyes like frozen rivers, she wasn't that girl anymore. "Mr. Kang," she said, and her voice was silk over steel. "I believe we have business to discuss." His jaw tightened. "I don't do business with strangers." She smiled. Slow. Dangerous. "Then it's fortunate we're not strangers, isn't it?" The room went silent. His men shifted, sensing blood in the water. Min-ho leaned back in his chair, studying her like a predator studies prey. But something was wrong. She didn't flinch, didn't look away, didn't shrink. "Do I know you?" he asked, though the question tasted like ash. She tilted her head. "You used to." And then she placed a folder on the table in front of him, thick, expensive, the kind of document that held the weight of empires. "I'm here to acquire your East Coast operations," she said. "All of them." Min-ho laughed. It was a cold sound, sharp enough to cut. "You think you can walk into my territory and take what's mine?" "I don't think," she replied. "I know." She turned to leave, her presence filling the room even as she moved toward the door. But before she stepped out, she paused, looked over her shoulder, and for the first time he saw something flicker in her eyes. Recognition, pain, victory. "By the way," she said softly, "you were wrong about me." The door closed behind her, and Kang Min-ho sat alone in his fortress, staring at the folder she left behind, feeling something he hadn't felt in 8 years. Fear. Her name was Naomi Carter now. Not Kang Naomi, not Mrs. Kang. Not the girl who scrubbed floors in his family's estate, hoping someone would see her as human. Carter. A name she built with her own hands. A name that meant something in rooms where power was currency and mercy was weakness. She stood in her hotel suite overlooking the city, a glass of wine untouched in her hand. Behind her, the skyline glittered like scattered diamonds. But she wasn't looking at the view. She was looking at the photographs spread across the table. 4 faces, 2 boys, 2 girls, her children, his children. The ones he said she could never have. Min-ho Jr. was 8 now, with his father's sharp jaw and her warm eyes. He was brilliant. Ruthless when he needed to be. Gentle when he thought no one was watching. Beside him in the photo was his twin sister, Minji, a storm wrapped in silk, fierce and unbreakable. The younger twins, Jiho and Jisoo, were 6, still soft in ways the world hadn't hardened yet, still believed their mother could protect them from everything. Naomi's fingers brushed the edge of Minji's photograph. "You'll meet him soon," she whispered. "But not yet." A knock at the door pulled her from the memory. "Come in." Her assistant, Marcus, stepped inside. Tall, efficient, loyal in ways money couldn't buy. "The acquisition papers are ready. His lawyers are stalling, but they'll break." "They always do." Naomi nodded. "And surveillance?" "He's been asking questions, digging into your background. He doesn't know yet, but he's close." She smiled. "Let him dig. Let him wonder. Men like Minho need to believe they're in control. It makes the fall so much sweeter." Marcus hesitated. "And if he finds out about the children?" Her smile vanished. "He won't," she said, and her voice was ice. "Not until I decide he's ready." Across the city, Minho sat in his penthouse, a file open on his desk. Naomi Carter, self-made, untouchable. No family, no ties, no weaknesses. But something about her gnawed at him. The way she moved, the way she looked at him. Like she knew every scar he carried, every lie he told himself. His phone buzzed. "Sir, we found something." "What?" "She was in Seoul, 8 years ago, married to—" He didn't let the man finish. He hung up, stared at the photograph his team had uncovered. A younger version of Naomi, thinner, sadder, standing beside a man in a wedding photo. Him. The glass in his hand shattered. She knew he'd come. Men like Kang Minho didn't let mysteries walk away. They hunted them, cornered them, broke them open to see what was inside. So when her security called to say he was in the lobby, demanding to see her, she wasn't surprised. She was ready. "Let him up." He stormed into her suite like a hurricane. Still handsome, still dangerous, still the man who once held her heart in his hands and crushed it without blinking. "You lied to me," he said, and his voice was low, lethal. Naomi stood by the window, backlit by the city. Untouchable. "I never lied. You just never asked the right questions." "You're my ex-wife." "Was," she corrected. "Past tense. You made sure of that." He crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping just close enough that she could feel the heat of his anger. "Why are you here? What do you want?" "I want what you took from me." "I gave you money. A settlement." "You left with—" "Nothing," she interrupted, and now her voice was sharp. "I left with nothing. No name, no dignity, no future. You told me I was broken, that I'd never be enough, so I became more than enough. I became everything you'll never have again." His jaw clenched. "This is revenge." "No." She stepped closer. So close she could see the confusion in his eyes, the anger, the fear. "This is justice." For a moment they stood there, 2 people who once promised forever, 2 people who destroyed each other in different ways. "I don't know you anymore," he said quietly. "You never did." He turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. "Minho." He froze. She hadn't said his name in 8 years. Hearing it now, soft, almost tender, it felt like a knife. "You told me I'd never be a mother." He didn't turn around. "You couldn't—" "I have 4 children." Silence. The kind of silence that swallows worlds. He turned. Slowly, his face pale. "What?" 2 boys, 2 girls. They're beautiful, smart, strong." She smiled, and it was the saddest thing he'd ever seen. "Everything you said I couldn't give you. I gave them, just not to you." His world tilted. "You're lying." "Am I?" She walked to the table, picked up a photograph, held it out to him. 4 faces stared back. And in each one, he saw pieces of himself. The sharp nose, the dark eyes, the stubborn chin, his blood, his heirs, his children. "You left me when I needed you most," Naomi said softly. "So I raised them alone. And now?" She took the photograph back. Now you'll spend the rest of your life knowing what you lost. Minho couldn't breathe. Where are they? Safe. Far from you. Far from this world. I want to see them. No. They're mine. They're mine, she said, and her voice cracked. Just once. Just enough to remind him she was human. You gave up that right the day you called me worthless. He reached for her. She stepped back. Don't touch me. Don't come near me. And don't you dare think you can walk back into their lives like you didn't destroy mine. She moved toward the door, opened it. Leave, and don't come back until you understand what you really lost. He stood there, frozen, shattered, and for the first time in 8 years, Kang Minho felt something break inside him that no amount of power could fix. The city didn't sleep that night, neither did Minho. He sat in his office, the photograph of 4 children spread across his desk, like evidence of a crime he didn't know he'd committed. 2 boys, 2 girls. Their faces a mirror of his own bloodline. Undeniable, irrefutable, impossible to ignore. His children. The heirs he'd spent 8 years building an empire for. The legacy he'd sacrificed everything to secure. And they existed. They'd always existed. Just not with him. His hand trembled as he reached for his phone. Find everything, he told his head of security. Schools, medical records, where they live, who protects them, everything. Sir, Mrs. Carter, Ms. Carter, she's locked down her information tighter than a federal witness. We'll need time. You have 48 hours. He hung up. The rage came in waves. Not the hot, explosive kind that made men destroy rooms and hurt people. This was colder, deeper. The kind that lived in your chest and turned your blood to ice. She kept them from him. For 8 years, she kept his children hidden while he built an empire, on the belief that his bloodline would end with him. While he made deals and crushed enemies and carved his name into the underworld with the singular focus of a man who thought he had nothing left to lose. But he'd already lost everything. He just hadn't known it yet. Across town, Naomi stood in the doorway of her children's bedroom, a space she'd created in the safe house she maintained for moments like this. Moments when the past came knocking and the future hung in the balance. Minho Jr. was still awake, reading by lamplight. He looked up when she entered, his dark eyes too knowing for an 8-year-old. Mom? Yes, baby? Is something wrong? She crossed the room, sat on the edge of his bed, brushed the hair from his forehead the way she used to when he was small enough to carry. Why would you think that? You have that look, the one you get when you're protecting us from something. Smart. Too smart. Just like his father. There's someone, she said carefully, who might try to become part of our lives, someone from a long time ago. Minho Jr. sat up straighter. Our father. It wasn't a question. Naomi's breath caught. How did you— I'm not stupid, Mom. We have his last name on our birth certificates. You just never use it. And I've seen you look at old photos when you think we're asleep. He paused. Is he dangerous? He's complicated. That's not an answer. She smiled despite herself. No, it's not. She took his hand. Your father is a powerful man. He lives in a world that isn't safe. A world I left to keep you protected. But now he knows about you. And I don't know what he'll do with that information. Will he try to take us? The question hung in the air like smoke. I won't let him, Naomi said, and her voice was iron. You are mine, all 4 of you, and no one, not even him, will change that. Minho Jr. nodded slowly, then quieter. What if we want to meet him? Her heart stopped. What? I'm just saying. What if we want to know who he is? Not to leave you? Never to leave you? But he's half of us, isn't he? Naomi stood abruptly, her composure cracking. He gave up that right. He chose his empire over me, over us. He doesn't get to walk back in and— Mom! She stopped, turned. Her son looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. Eyes that understood pain in ways children shouldn't. I'm not saying you're wrong. he said quietly. I'm just saying. Maybe we deserve to decide too. She left the room before he could see her cry. The next morning, Minho's team delivered their findings. It wasn't much. Naomi had covered her tracks like a professional. But there were gaps. Small inconsistencies. A private school in upstate New York with 4 students enrolled under the name Carter. A property deed for a house 2 hours outside the city. Medical records that listed 4 children born within 18 months of each other. Twins. And then twins again. His twins. He was in his car within the hour. The house was modest by his standards, elegant but understated. Surrounded by trees and far enough from the city that the noise of his world couldn't reach it. A fortress disguised as a home. He parked at the end of the driveway, watched, and then he saw them. 2 boys playing basketball in the driveway. The older one, Minho Jr., he had to be, moved with precision and control. The younger one, Jiho, laughed as he missed a shot, carefree and bright. Then the girls emerged, Minji carrying a book and looking annoyed at the noise, Jisoo chasing a butterfly through the grass. His children. God, they were real. He didn't realize he'd gotten out of the car until Minho Jr.'s basketball stopped bouncing. The boy turned, saw him standing at the edge of the property, and went completely still. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Father and son. Strangers who shared the same blood. Jiho, Minji, Jisoo. Inside. Now. The younger children obeyed instantly, sensing the shift in the air. But Minho Jr. stayed, stepped forward. You're him, the boy said. Minho's throat tightened. Yes. You hurt my mom. Yes. She cries sometimes, late at night when she thinks we can't hear. Because of you. The words landed like bullets. I know, Minho said, and his voice cracked. I know. Minho Jr. studied him with the kind of intensity that made grown men uncomfortable. Then, slowly, he picked up the basketball. You any good? Minho blinked. What? Basketball. You any good? It was absurd. Surreal. But Minho found himself walking onto the driveway, taking the ball his son passed to him, and shooting. It went in. Minho Jr. nodded. Not bad, for an old man. And despite everything, despite the pain and the anger and the 8 years of loss, Minho almost smiled. They played in silence for 10 minutes. No words. Just the sound of the ball hitting pavement and the distant hum of wind through trees. Finally, Minho Jr. stopped. She's not going to forgive you. I know. And we're not going to just accept you. Not after what you did. I know. But, the boy said, and his voice softened just slightly, maybe you can earn it, if you actually try. Before Minho could respond, the front door opened. Naomi stood there, her face pale with fury. Get away from my son. Minho Jr. looked between them. Then quietly, he went inside. Naomi descended the steps like a queen approaching an execution. I told you to stay away. They're my children. They're my children. You lost them the day you threw me away. I didn't know. You didn't care, she shouted, and her voice broke. You didn't care that I was sick, that I was broken, that I needed you. You just left. He took a step forward. I'm here now. 8 years too late. Then let me fix it. You can't fix this. Tears streamed down her face. You can't walk back in and pretend you didn't destroy me. You can't look at them and think that makes up for the nights I spent alone, pregnant and terrified, wondering if I'd survive. You can't. He kissed her. It was desperate, broken. The kiss of a man who'd lost everything and was trying to hold on to the last piece of something real. She shoved him away, breathless. Don't you dare. I still love you, he whispered. And the world stopped. She slapped him. The sound echoed across the quiet driveway like a gunshot. Minho's head snapped to the side, his cheek burning, but he didn't move, didn't defend himself. Just stood there, accepting the hit like penance. You don't get to say that, Naomi said, her voice shaking. You don't get to stand here after 8 years and tell me you love me. You destroyed that love. You killed it the day you looked at me like I was nothing. I was wrong. You were cruel. I know. You broke me. I know. She stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself like she was trying to hold the pieces together. Why now? Why come here? Why not just let us go? Because I can't, he said. And for the first time, his voice broke. I've tried. For 8 years, I tried to forget you. To move on. To convince myself that I made the right choice. But I didn't. I was a coward. I was so obsessed with building something that mattered that I destroyed the only thing that ever did. She looked away. You're too late. I know that too. He took a breath. But they deserve to know me. Not the empire, not the money. Me, even if you hate me. Even if I spend the rest of my life trying to earn something I'll never deserve. They deserve the choice. They're children. They're my children. The words hung between them, raw and undeniable. Naomi's shoulders sagged. If you hurt them, I won't. If you bring your world into theirs, I'll keep them safe. I swear it. She met his eyes, saw something there she hadn't seen in 8 years. Regret. 1 day a week, she said finally. Supervised. Here. Never at your properties. Never near your business. And the moment I think you're putting them in danger, you're gone. Forever. He nodded. Thank you. She turned toward the house, paused. Minho? Yes? Don't make me regret this. The weeks that followed were strange. Minho came every Saturday, always alone, never with bodyguards or drivers or any of the trappings of his world. Just him, standing at the door like a man asking permission to exist. The children were cautious at first. Minji watched him like a hawk, her sharp mind cataloging every movement, every word, every inconsistency. She was the hardest to reach, the one who remembered her mother's tears most clearly. Jiho and Jisoo were easier. They were young enough to be curious, old enough to ask questions. Why did you leave? Where do you live? Do you have other kids? Each question a small knife, but Minho answered them all honestly. And Minho Jr., his eldest son, watched everything with quiet intensity, testing, measuring, deciding whether the man in front of him was worth knowing. They played basketball, watched movies, ate dinner together at the long kitchen table while Naomi watched from the doorway, ready to intervene at the first sign of trouble. But trouble never came. Instead, something softer emerged. One Saturday, Minji challenged him to chess, beat him 3 times in a row, then smirked. Mom said you were smart. Guess she was wrong. He laughed. Actually laughed. She was wrong about a lot of things, but not about you. You're brilliant. Minji's expression softened, just slightly. Mom taught me. She said knowledge is the only thing no one can take from you. She's right. She usually is. Another week, Jisoo fell off her bike, scraped her knee. And before Naomi could reach her, Minho was there, kneeling in the grass, cleaning the wound with a gentleness that made Naomi's chest ache. Does it hurt? He asked softly. Jisoo sniffled. A little. You're braver than me. When I was your age, I cried over paper cuts. She giggled. Really? Really? He kissed her forehead. And Naomi had to turn away before he saw her face. But it was Minho Jr. who broke the silence one evening as they sat on the porch, watching the sun set. Why did you really leave her? Minho didn't flinch. I was afraid. Of what? Of failing, of not being enough. My family, my world. It doesn't forgive weakness. And when your mother couldn't give me an heir, I thought that made her weak. But I was wrong. She was the strongest person I ever knew, and I was too blind to see it. Minho Jr. nodded slowly. She still loves you, you know. Minho's head snapped up. What? She tries to hide it. But I see the way she looks at you when you're not paying attention, like she's trying to remember who you used to be. I'm not that person anymore. Maybe that's the problem. Inside, Naomi stood at the window, watching them talk. Her heart a war zone, her mind a battlefield. Because Minho Jr. was right. She did still love him. And that terrified her more than anything. That night, after the children were asleep, Minho found her in the garden. She didn't tell him to leave. "They're good kids," he said quietly. "They're everything," she replied. "You did that. Not me. You." She looked at him. "Why are you really here, Minho? Is it guilt? Obligation? Or do you actually want to be their father?" "All of it," he admitted. "But mostly, I just want to be near them, near you. Even if it's just for a few hours a week. Even if you never forgive me. This, right here, it's the only thing that's ever felt real." She closed her eyes. "You can't undo the past." "I know. But maybe I can build something better in the future." For a long moment they stood in silence. Then, so softly he almost didn't hear it, she whispered, "Stay for dinner tomorrow. The kids would like that." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. 3 months later, everything changed. It started with a phone call. Minho was at the house, had become a regular presence now. No longer just Saturdays, but scattered weekdays too, helping with homework, fixing broken things, becoming part of the fabric of their lives in small, quiet ways. He'd learned that Minji liked her sandwiches cut diagonally, that Jiho couldn't sleep without his nightlight, that Jisoo collected rocks from the garden and named each one, that Minho Jr. stayed up late reading strategy books like his father once did. He was in the kitchen with Naomi, chopping vegetables while she seasoned chicken, and the domesticity of it all still felt surreal. 3 months ago, he'd been signing execution orders. Now he was debating whether carrots should be julienned or diced. "Julienned," Naomi said, reading his mind. "Jiho won't eat them otherwise. He's 6. How does he even know the difference?" "Because he's your son, stubborn and particular about everything." Minho smiled. It was easier now. The smiles, the laughter, the moments where the weight of 8 years didn't crush him. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again, then again. "You should answer that," Naomi said, not looking up from the stove. "It can wait." "Minho." The way she said his name, soft but firm, made him stop. He sighed, wiped his hands on a towel, and stepped into the hallway. "What?" His second-in-command's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "We have a problem. A big one. The Takeda family knows about the Carter acquisition. They're pushing back, hard. They're saying you used their territory as leverage without permission, and now they're moving against us. 3 warehouses hit in the last 2 hours. 5 men dead." Minho's entire body went rigid. "How did they find out?" "We don't know. But that's not the worst part. They've started asking questions about you. About where you've been, why you've been leaving the city every week, why you're distracted. And, sir," the man hesitated, "they're saying you've gone soft, that you're compromised." The word hung in the air like poison. Compromised. In his world, that word was a death sentence. "How much do they know?" Minho asked, his voice dropping to the deadly calm that used to make grown men flinch. "Not everything. They don't know about your family. Not yet. But they know you've been spending time upstate, and if they dig deeper, they won't." Minho's mind was already calculating. Contingencies, exits, threats. "Pull everyone back to the core territories. Double security on all assets. And send a message to Takeda. Tell him if he wants a war, I'll give him one he won't survive. Sir, with all due respect, messages aren't going to cut it this time. They're testing you. They need to see you. They need to be reminded why they fear you. If you don't show up in person, if you don't handle this the way you always have, we're going to lose everything you built." Minho closed his eyes, felt the old familiar pull, the gravity of violence, the seduction of power. "I'll be there in 2 hours." He hung up. When he returned to the kitchen, Naomi was standing perfectly still, her back to him, hands braced against the counter. She hadn't moved, hadn't made a sound, but he could feel the tension radiating off her like heat. "You have to go," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." She nodded slowly. set down the knife she'd been holding, turned to face him, and the look in her eyes broke something inside him. "This is what I was afraid of," she said quietly. "Naomi. No, don't." She held up a hand. "I knew this moment would come. I told myself I was ready for it, that I could handle it. But standing here now, watching you transform back into him, into the man who lives in that world, it terrifies me. I'm not. You are." She stepped closer. "I can see it already. The way your voice changed on that phone call, the way you're standing, the look in your eyes. You're already gone. You're already back there. And I need to know, right now before you walk out that door, what you're going to choose. It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple," she said, and her voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. "You can't have both, Minho. You can't be the crime lord who rules through fear and violence and the father who shows up for soccer games and helps with math homework. You can't live in both worlds. I've watched you try for 3 months and it's been beautiful, but I always knew this day would come. The day your empire demanded you back. So choose. Right now. Choose." "I'm choosing you. All of you." "Then prove it." He stared at her. "What do you want me to do?" "Walk away from all of it. The empire, the power, the violence, the fear. Walk away and build something real. Something that won't get our children killed. You're asking me to give up everything I've built. I'm asking you to choose what matters." Her voice cracked. "I spent 8 years alone, Minho. 8 years raising 4 children by myself, building a life from nothing, becoming strong enough to survive without you. And then you came back. And for 3 months, I let myself hope. I let myself believe that maybe, we could actually have something real. But I won't do this halfway. I won't spend the rest of my life wondering when your world is going to come crashing into ours, when someone is going to follow you here, when our children are going to pay for your sins." She moved closer, and he could see tears forming in her eyes. "I love you," she whispered. "I never stopped. Even when I hated you. Even when I wanted to forget you. I loved you. And that's why I need you to choose. Because if you walk out that door and go back to that life, I can't let you come back. Not for me, not for them. It's too dangerous. So choose." The sound of laughter drifted in from the living room. Minho Jr. was teaching Jiho a card trick, his voice patient and encouraging, just like Naomi's always was. Minji was reading to Jisoo, acting out the voices with theatrical flair. His children, his family. The thing he'd spent 8 years believing he'd never have. "If I walk away," he said slowly, every word careful, "people will come for us, my enemies. The families I've kept in check through fear and strength. They'll see weakness. They'll see an opportunity. And they'll strike, not just at me, at you, at them. Do you understand that?" "Yes." "And you still want me to do it?" "I don't want you to do anything," she said. "I want you to choose who you are, who you want to be, the man who rules through fear, or the man who builds through love." He looked at his hands that had signed death warrants, hands that had built an empire of blood and money, hands that had held his daughter while she cried over a scraped knee last week. "If I stay," he said quietly, "if I go handle this the way they expect me to, I'll win. The Takeda family will back down. My empire will be secure. And I'll have lost you. Forever. Yes. And if I walk away, I lose everything I've built. My power. My reputation. My legacy. Yes. But I get to keep you. And them." Naomi's breath hitched. "Yes." He was silent for a long moment. Then, "You've thought about this, about what happens if I choose you. Every day for 3 months. Tell me the plan." She blinked. "What?" "You said you've been thinking about this. You wouldn't have given me this ultimatum without a plan. So tell me, what happens if I walk away? How do we survive?" A small, cautious smile touched her lips. "You really want to know?" "I really want to know." She took a breath. First, you dismantle your empire, not violently, not in a way that creates a power vacuum and starts a war. Methodically, piece by piece. You sell off territories to families that won't come after us. You liquidate assets. You disappear money into accounts they can't touch, can't trace. You make deals with your enemies that give them what they want in exchange for guarantees of safety. That could take months. 6 months. I've mapped it out. I've identified which families would be receptive to buyouts, which territories are worth keeping as bargaining chips, which assets can be liquidated quickly. He stared at her. You've been planning my exit strategy. I've been planning our exit strategy, she corrected, because I hoped, that one day you'd be ready to choose us. And when that day came, I wanted to be ready. What happens after I've dismantled everything? We disappear. New names, new city, new life. I have documents prepared, birth certificates, social security numbers, work histories, everything we need to become different people. The children will adapt. They're young enough. And we'll finally be free. Free, he repeated, testing the word. It felt foreign in his mouth. Free, she confirmed. No guards, no threats, no looking over our shoulders. Just a normal life. School plays and birthday parties and family dinners. The life I've been trying to give them since they were born. And me? What do I become in this new life? Whatever you want. You're brilliant, Minho. You built an empire from nothing. Imagine what you could do if you used that mind for something other than survival and conquest. He moved toward the window, looked out at the garden where Jisoo was arranging her rocks in careful patterns. They'll fight me. My own organization. They won't let me walk away peacefully. Then we make it worth their while. You said it yourself. You've kept them in check through strength. So give them something stronger. Give them stability, a clean transition. Promote your second in command. Give him everything. In exchange, he guarantees our safety, our anonymity. He might betray that agreement. He might. But I've researched him. He's loyal. He has a family too. 2 daughters. A wife he adores. You leverage that. You make him understand that your safety guarantees his family's safety. Mutual destruction. The oldest play in the book. Minho turned back to her. And for the first time in 3 months, he saw her not as the woman he'd destroyed and was trying to win back, but as his equal, his partner, his match. You would have made a terrifying crime lord, he said. I learned from the best, she replied. And then I learned what actually matters. From the living room, Minho Jr.'s voice called out, Mom! Dad! Are we having dinner soon? I'm starving! Dad. The word still sent a shock through his system every time. Minho looked at Naomi. If I do this, if we do this, there's no going back. Once I start dismantling the empire, once people realize I'm walking away, we'll be vulnerable. Exposed. Are you absolutely certain? I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Then we start tomorrow. Naomi's eyes widened. Tomorrow? No. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Tonight, right now. When his second-in-command answered, Minho's voice was clear. Cancel the meeting with Takeda. Tell him I'm sending you to negotiate. You have full authority to make whatever deals necessary to end this conflict. And when you're done, come to the estate tomorrow morning. We need to talk about your future. He hung up, turned back to Naomi. It's done. She covered her mouth with her hand, tears spilling over. Just like that? Just like that. He crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. You asked me to choose. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing them. I'm choosing the life we should have had 8 years ago, and I'm never letting you go again. She sobbed into his chest, 8 years of fear and pain and hope finally breaking free. And for the first time since he'd walked back into her life, Minho felt something he hadn't felt since he was a child before the Empire claimed him. Peace. The next 6 months were a controlled demolition. Minho systematically dismantled everything he'd built. Every territory, every asset, every connection. He met with rivals and former enemies, offering deals they couldn't refuse. He promoted his second-in-command to take over the organization, binding him with agreements that protected both their families. His family, his birth family, the Kang dynasty, watched with fury and confusion. But by the time they realized what he was doing, it was too late. The empire had been distributed, the money hidden, the power transferred, and Kang Minho began to disappear. During those 6 months, something else happened too. He and Naomi began to heal. It started with small things: cooking dinner together, reading bedtime stories, sitting on the porch after the children were asleep, talking about everything and nothing. The conversations were careful at first, both of them navigating the minefield of their past. But slowly, trust began to rebuild. One night, 3 months into the transition, Naomi told him about the pregnancy. About finding out she was carrying twins 2 weeks after he'd signed the divorce papers. About the terror of being alone and pregnant. About the second pregnancy that came just 6 months after the first twins were born. Her body barely recovered, and realizing she was having twins again. "I almost died," she said quietly. "With the second set. My body couldn't handle it. I hemorrhaged. They told me I wouldn't make it. But I kept thinking about them, about Minho Jr. and Minji. They were only 6 months old. They needed me. So I fought." Minho's hand tightened around hers. "I should have been there." "Yes, you should have. But you weren't. And I survived anyway. We all did. And that's the point, Minho. We don't need you to survive, but we want you to live. There's a difference." He understood. 5 months in, Minho met with his second-in-command for the final time. "Everything's transferred," the man said. "All territories stable. All agreements honored. You're free. And our agreement? Protected. My family for yours. No one touches you or the kids. You have my word. Thank you." The man studied him. Was it worth it? Giving up everything? Minho thought about Minho Jr. teaching him how to play video games, about Minji's laugh when he did the voices wrong during story time, about Jiho and Jisoo fighting over who got to sit next to him at dinner, about Naomi's hand in his as they watched the sunset. "Yes," he said. "It was worth everything." 6 months and 2 days after the phone call that changed everything, Kang Minho died, and Michael Park was born. The family moved to Portland, Oregon. A modest house in a quiet neighborhood. New names, new lives, new beginning. The children adapted beautifully. Minho Jr. joined the debate team and discovered he had his mother's gift for words. Minji found theater and became a star. Jiho made friends easily, his gentle nature drawing people to him. Jisoo started a rock collection that took over the garage, and every night they sat together at dinner, all 6 of them, and talked about their days. No bodyguards outside, no weapons hidden in drawers, no fear, just family. One evening, nearly a year after they'd left the old life behind, Naomi found Minho standing in the backyard, watching the children play tag in the fading light. "Regret it?" she asked, coming to stand beside him. "Not even once. Not even when you see the news? When you see your old territory? When you think about the power you had?" "I had nothing," he said quietly. "I thought I had everything, but I had nothing. This is everything." She slipped her hand into his. "I never thought you'd actually do it. I hoped, but I didn't believe. I didn't believe in myself either. But you did. You saw something in me I couldn't see. You gave me a reason to be better." "No." And she shook her head. "You chose to be better. That was all you." From the yard, Minho Jr. called out, "Mom! Dad! Come play with us!" "Dad!" The word still made his heart skip. "Come on," Naomi said, tugging his hand. "Our family's waiting." They ran into the yard, joining the game. Jisoo shrieked with laughter as Minho pretended to be too slow to catch her. Jiho and Minho Jr. formed a team against their parents. Minji narrated the whole thing like a sports announcer, making everyone laugh. And as the sun set over their small house in their quiet neighborhood, as his children's laughter filled the air, As Naomi smiled at him with love instead of pain, Minho understood. True power wasn't fear. True power wasn't control. True power was this: coming home, being chosen, building an empire of love instead of blood, and never, ever letting it go. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Naomi found Minho in their bedroom, looking at an old photograph. The wedding photo. The one from 8 years ago. Young, naive, broken. "Why do you keep that?" she asked. "To remember," he said. "To remember who I was, what I did, so I never become that person again." She took the photo from his hands, set it down, turned to face him. "I'm ready," she said. "Ready for what?" "To try again. Not to forget. We'll never forget. But to build something new. Together. Actually together this time." He cupped her face in his hands. "I don't deserve you." "No, you don't. But maybe that's okay. Maybe love isn't about deserving. Maybe it's about choosing. Every day. Choosing to stay. Choosing to forgive. Choosing to build." "I choose you," he whispered. "Every day for the rest of my life. I choose you." "Then kiss me," she said, "and let's start building." He did. And in that moment, in that small bedroom in that quiet house, Kang Minho and Naomi Carter finally became what they were always meant to be. Not crime lord and victim, not ex-husband and ex-wife, but partners, parents, home,